Greetings, dear ones, and welcome. I'm Reverend Dr. Jerry Troyer. I'm the administrator and board president of the affiliated New Thought Network, and I would like to welcome you to our very special November speaker series conversation with Reverend Alison Benjamin and our very special guest, Dr. Linda Howe. Just a couple of housekeeping reminders. We do this every month. The conversations are recorded and posted on our YouTube channel, which is ANTN, ANTN Members and Friends. And you and your congregation are invited to go and view and listen to past recordings from Dr. Charles Geddes, who is with us today, Reverend Martha Creek, Rick Moss, just a variety of wonderful New Thought leaders and movers and shakers, as it were. So those are always available to you, and the recording from today will be posted and available in the next day or so. So invite you to take advantage of that. As I mentioned, we do this every month. So next month, December 17th, will be Cynthia James. It is normally the fourth Thursday of the month, but because of the holidays, we're the third Thursday this month, obviously, and the next month it will be December 17th with Cynthia James talking about self-care, and certainly during the holidays, so we look forward to that. And then January 28th, we will have a member of our board, Reverend PJ Stanley, our conference coordinator, Reverend Cherie Taylor-Jones, and a couple of other special guests talking about racism and ethnic healing in the country and the world. So we look forward to that and invite all of you to be back with us for both of those. If you're not on our email list, I invite you to do so, to request that. Just go to our website, www.antn.org. So www.antn.org, and you will hear from us no more than once a week, we promise, because we want you to feel informed, but not spammed. All right, so with all of that done, I invite you to just get comfortable where you are for a moment as I bring us in, center us and bring us into the light. So just invite you to take a deep breath, be comfortable where you are. Releasing the busyness of this morning, releasing thoughts of earlier today, later today, or tomorrow, so we can just be fully present in the lusciousness of this moment. And as we are reminded that there's only one power, presence, mind, life, and intelligence, and that is God. Spirit, the universe, the infinite, the divine, our higher power, whatever we choose to call it. And because there is only one, that means that we are the essence, expression, and experience of that one. And if we are, then everyone else is as well. So we come together in gratitude today for the opportunity to hear from and learn from and get to know our beloved Dr. Linda. We give thanks for this opportunity. We allow ourselves to be open at the top, as Ernest Holmes said, to learn something new, to be touched in our hearts as well as our minds. So I wrap our time together today in gratitude, love, and light, and together we say, and so it is.
It is.
Yes.
So it is my honor and privilege to introduce our beloved Reverend Alison Benjamin. She is the Vice President of the Board for ANTN and our Speaker Series Coordinator. So Reverend Allie, greetings and welcome.
Well, thanks a lot. Great to be here and great to be with our beautiful community, our ANTN community. And today we have such a treat, such a blessing. Dr. Linda Howe, I met 3 or so years ago, over 3 years ago now, when she became a member of ANTN, and we got to know each other over the phone. And Dr. Linda is the founder of the Center for Akashic Studies. Doesn't that sound intriguing? The Center for Akashic Studies. And she is in Oak Park, Illinois. Dr. Linda is a spiritual pioneer, a practical visionary, a master teacher, an award-winning author. And I know that she has 3 books currently and is working on her 4th. So I'm sure we'll hear about that. And Dr. Linda travels around the world sharing her teachings and her passion. And so it is my great, great honor and privilege to introduce and welcome Dr. Linda Howe. Linda, welcome.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
So we'll all get a chance to get to know you. So who is Linda? Tell us where you are, who you are. What can we...
Well, first I have to say thank you. Thank you so much. I forget that I'm connected to you and to everyone, right? I forget it. And yet, so the invitation comes and I'm like, oh, yes, and over the last, weeks, I have felt myself being drawn into the awareness, right? It's like I'm waking up again to this relationship that we've all had like forever, at least, right? And it's wonderful. And then I come here today and everyone's so nice. I'm like, whoa, I forgot it. I forgot, we're already friends, and I'm grateful for that. So listen, I have so many things I would like to share today. Like I have notebooks, and what occurred to me as I was preparing is the great privilege it is to be able to speak to people who can hear what I have to say. I go to different places around the world. I teach a lot in mainland China, in Asia, and it looks like it'll be Russia is next on the list. And it's really wonderful. I'm deeply, deeply grateful. But there's something, first of all, about the fact that everyone here speaks English. Thank you for that. But also, I know you can hear me, and that is a real gift. It is a gift to be heard. It is a gift, as you know, to be known. I have been working in the Akashic Records since 1994 exclusively. I do go to the Oak Park Church of Religious Science. If I have a church, that's my church, right? And it's wonderful. It's a great community, and I have certainly been blessed in many, many ways, known and certainly unknown.
I'd like to, the word Akashic Records.
Well, all right, we will start there because, I'll tell you what, I was thinking about talking today about the Akashic approach to, really thriving in challenging times. Like, what would that be? And of course, my phone is ringing because I forgot to turn it off. Anyway, so Akasha is a Sanskrit word, right? It means primary substance, that from which all things are formed. So we're talking about the raw material of life before we get to it with our thoughts, our feelings, and our will, right? It is the raw essence of life. If you are interested in a very good description of the Akasha and the records, I really encourage you to take a look at the introduction to the Aquarian Gospel of Jesus the Christ by Levi Dowling. The introduction to that is about 26 pages long. It is, to this day, the best description of the Akasha that I have come across. And so, and it's short. So I really recommend it. So Akasha, we're talking about the raw material of life, right? The Akashic record is a vibrational archive of every soul in its journey. Now, because it's vibrational, it's invisible. We never see the Akasha, right? We don't see, even with the strong eye, you will never see the Akashic record because it's vibrational. As an archive, it is a treasury, right? It is a congregation, really, of of all souls in their human journey, right? Everyone's in it. We can't erase anybody. And after we've been in the records a while, we realize we don't want to erase anybody. You know, even the pesky whoever it is, right? Everybody's welcome, because it is the consciousness of all that composes the Akashic field. So it's a vibrational archive of every soul in its human journey. Now, the Akasha does not say, oh, you weren't living on another planet. It doesn't say you were not an animal in a prior incarnation. It simply does not address those. It pertains only to the soul and its journey as human. Okay, now, so that's what it is. It is a field of energy. It is a field, it is a realm of consciousness. It is the soul level dimension of consciousness. It is not an oracle for divination. It is not a fishing pond for past life information. It really is a field of light. The good news for people like me is that it's not a deity, and we don't have to worship, pray to it, beg, implore, carry on, right? Make offerings, sacrifice our firstborn, unless they're a problem, in which case I say have at it. But, you know, I mean, that's not what we're talking about here. We are, you know, we're talking about a field of a realm of consciousness. Okay. There are two parts to every set of records. So your records have two components. The first is permanent, and the second is evolving, right? I kind of think of it as like a pair of glands, for lack of a better understanding. You know, it's like they come together. So the first part is permanent, is, as I've come to understand it, the divine impression of your ultimate potential. It is woven into the fabric of the soul. It is who you are destined to recognize yourself as and demonstrate in the course of your lifetimes as human. Now, we know, you know, it's very easy to know the truth about ourselves when we don't have bodies. I don't know. I think, yeah, you know, we're all beings of light having a great time. And we're perfect, whole, complete. All of that is true. The problem is, how can I know that when I am in human form? Now it's game on, right? And that's where the second part of the records comes in. This is the evolving part of the record. It is the chronicles of you, right? It is the stories of the lifetimes that you live, through which you become aware of your ultimate potential and you live it. Okay, now I know for the spiritually arrogant like myself, I think, oh, no problem, I'll do that in a couple of lifetimes. Well, the fact is, this, you know, it's a good thing we're infinite beings, because this does take a while. It takes a while to recognize there's more here than meets the eye. Then it takes a longer time to realize that, you know, to recognize that I am good no matter what, even when my behavior is ridiculous. And then it's another step to recognize the same for all others. From the Akashic perspective, the purpose of the soul's journey as human is to come to know and love ourselves as we are loved in truth by the divine. It is to love ourselves unconditionally. Okay, when I first came into the records in 1994, this is so funny. You know, I was raised Catholic. It was a great religion, you know, to grow up in. I say, if you have to rebel against something, pick a traditional religion. Anyway, and I did. So I came up in this religion, and you know, I applied all my religious ideas to the records, right? Good God, bad God, good lifetime, bad lifetime, very dualistic, right? When I first came into the records in 1994, I had been searching for 16 years. And what I thought was that I would have good lifetimes and bad lifetimes. And the goal, obviously. I'm American. I'm very, goal oriented. I'm like, the goal is to zero out at the end. I'll have a good life, then I'll have a bad life, and they'll cancel each other out, and then we'll be done. Well, lo and behold, what I learned in the record is this is not the point. The point is to learn to love myself no matter what, which is a much taller order than anything I anticipated. I have to tell you, my first book, the first book I wrote was How to Read the Akashic Records. Came out in 2009, groundbreaking book. No one had ever done anything like it. I couldn't even believe I did it anyway. So the book is the method. I think, oh, I'm done, right? I'm done. Anyway, then I find out I have all this personal growth and healing, staring me in the face. But here's what was fascinating. My father was dying. I'm second of 8. I have 5 sisters, right? And I had my son at the time was about, I don't know, he was like a kid, whatever, little kid, 7, 8. Very creative person. He's still very creative. Okay, so I'm caught between these 2 challenges. How can I be, I had all these standards and ideals for myself that I couldn't live up to. I wanted to be a presence for love and goodness and harmony. I was a lunatic. I was irritable. I was unreasonable. I was trying to force my will on people. I was trying to mandate behavior. And every day I would get up and I would say, today's the day I'm really going to be a presence for respect. And every day I would fail. Anyway, and I would be really mad at myself. I would go into the records and it would be, it's all right. I thought, what the heck is this? See, I come from pull yourself up by your bootstraps, tough it out. And no matter what situation I brought to the records, right? Working in the Akashic record is not an event. It's a practice. It's a spiritual practice. So I would go into the records and bring the questions about my life and shine the Akashic light on it. And the way that works is that it brings into focus, it makes it easier to recognize, understand, and grasp the great treasures that we've been accumulating for lifetimes. Nothing is ever lost. The question is, how do I get to it? And a great way I have found is through the records using the pathway prayer process. So working in the records, one day at a time, one experience at a time, I learned a lot about unconditional love. Because no matter what I did, I couldn't get myself ejected from this body of light. And I thought that was very odd. I also found that the more I could accept and really have some compassion for myself and my human imperfection, the faster I changed. And I had that was a shock to me. Anyway, hence my second book, Healing Through the Records. The records do not do anything to us. They are non-intrusive, non-invasive, right? It is a space within which we can recognize greater truths about who we are, what's possible for us, and to begin to shine the light deeper to make it easier to recognize that underneath it all is goodness and light. So while at the level of behavior, things can be just awful, we recognize that at the level of motive, every human being without exception is always seeking to expand their experience of love for themselves. And sometimes they make a mess on the way. And that's all right too, because the spiritual journey, as I've learned in the records, is not about perfection. It's about usefulness. It's about inspired usefulness. And I've also noticed that life has never said to any great person, really, you don't have the right outfit. We don't want your help. Life doesn't say that. Life says, come on. It's all right if you're not perfect. Jump in. do your part, help us out. And there really is, I believe, the great opportunity of the Akashic Record, right? Is that it is a way for many people, right, to be able to recognize and identify their unique usefulness or their soul's purposes, and to bring them to life in a way that makes sense. My fourth book will be coming out in January on the 13th. I am so excited. It's Inspired Manifesting Through the Akashic Records, Elevate Your Energy and Ignite Your Dreams. So just so you know, that's coming out, and that's going to be really, I'm so excited, especially now, right? Especially now, because more than ever, you know, the way we've manifested forever, it doesn't work anymore, right? And so we have to find ways. How do I identify these truths that are in my heart that I've been carrying with for maybe centuries? How do I bring them to life at this point in time in the world the way it is? Do you know? And that's really what the book is about, right?
Linda, I have a question.
Sure. Please.
I'm hanging on every word here because it's so intriguing, and for many of us,
Nice.
we've not really explored the Akashic Records, and so to hear about this and to hear about your journey and the 4 books that you've right. offered that sort of help us to understand how someone that's been so tuned in to this relationship. I'm sensing there's a relationship between you and the Akashic Records. And my question is, can we all have a relationship?
Yes.
Yeah. So how will one go about
all right. Good question.
Developing that? Yeah.
That's a great question. Okay. First of all, the record is a part of who you are already. Okay. So no one is ever blocked from the record. Okay, so you don't ever want to worry about that. What I teach in my work is the pathway prayer process to access the heart of the Akashic Record. I had been working with another prayer access from 1994 to 2001. It was very good. It was very much geared to the mental, right? And so it was a lot of information, but what I noticed was that, you know, information is great when information is what you need, but it's often not enough, you know. Anyway, so I was given the pathway prayer process in 2001. It is a reliable, the pathway prayer is on my website, lindahowe.com. You can go there, you can get it for free. It's in my books. The books are also on Audible. But yeah, you can get it on the website. Just download it. And
by the way, if anyone does have questions, we're going to have some time at the end for you to ask Dr. Linda. So go ahead and write down your questions, and then at the last 10 minutes, we'll open it up for questions.
Right. Okay. So the pathway prayer process is reliable access to the record. It enables us to make a very subtle shift in our awareness to go into the record, but also to come back. Okay. And that's when we use the pathway prayer process, we are conscious, responsible, and deliberate. Okay. This is not trans-channeling. We're not bringing through entities. There's none of that. What's really distinct about the record, and I believe very Aquarian age, right, is that this is not the realm of spirit guides or angels with individual identities. At the gate of the record, that's how I understand it, the beings of light who govern the record relinquish their ego needs, and they work together in a group so that the insight, the guidance, and the wisdom we receive are from a collective. Right? It is, even though we use very visual words to talk about the records, most people never see a thing. I am not visual. I have this sense of knowing, right? My work in the records has been really productive. If I waited for an image, I've had about 5 images over the last 26 years. I would be very discouraged. So it's not about images. You don't have to be psychic. This is not about being psychic. This is spiritual, and everyone is spiritual. There was a big shift in the record itself. You know, it has been the classic domain of like scholars and mystics and monks and priests and like this for centuries and centuries. It was very big. Blavatsky in Russia, Steiner talked about it in Germany. I mean, this is, it's very, very big with the Theosophists. However, and Edgar Cayce, I mean, many of you are familiar with Edgar Cayce, brilliant, wonderful man. But the thing about Edgar was of the old age, yeah? He was the only one who could do it, and he was unconscious. So he would come out of the trance. He didn't know what he said, right? But what happens now, the record became available, increasingly available to secular people in the middle of the 90s. Yes, there are deeper various levels of the Akashic record. But we're talking now about the Akasha at large, okay? I just got lost, I'm sorry. So, here's what I wanted to tell you. I think this is so fascinating, right? That, you know, Ernest Holmes has those diagrams in the back of the Science of Mind book, right? On the self. And in the middle, right, is the soul. And what lives in the middle of, you know, with the soul is karma. It is also, it's receptive, right? It is the feminine. And it occurred to me that the availability of the record to secular people is traveling alongside the rise of the divine feminine. I just think, I don't know, that gave me goosebumps, right? I didn't even know it, but this is what we're talking about, that this dimension of our being is increasingly available to secular people because it's the age of, awakening spiritual awareness, where the option of having greater spiritual authority is individuals are recognizing that it is inherent in who they are to have this, right? I mean, we know this, the age of the priest is over. Thank goodness, he had a good run. We're grateful, onward. Anyway, now what's also interesting to me dimensionally is that the record, the scope of the record is, it's past, present, and future, right? So when we work in the record, I often think like intuition is like one spotlight, right? Is it good? It's fabulous. I love intuition, love it very much. But when I open the record, I step into this field, conscious, responsible, deliberate. It's like I step into the room and I turn all the lights on. So I can see where I've been, where I might be going, influences from other people and other places and other times, as well as shining the light on the moment, right? I can see what are the real challenges, right? I mean, because we know, you do a little bit of inner work, it doesn't take long to find out that what you think is, for me, what I think is a financial problem is really that I have a resentment, right? I'm like, oh, what's that? Anyway, it's just true. So I have no idea if I answered your question. You know what I want to tell you too that I think is really important is that the record is governed by 3 principles. Because what I observed is there's a consistency in the space, right? A consistency in it. So I go into the space and it's always safe, emotionally safe, very important quality for human beings. As we humans experience emotional safety, all kinds of things become possible, right? But it's this, so I came to learn that the Akashic record is governed by 3 absolutes: fear not, judge not, resist not. And they work like a tripod, is how it seems to me. They work like a tripod to safeguard the integrity of the space. Now, for those of us with perfection issues, I thought when I first got this, I was like, great. I'm going to fear not, judge not, resist not. Well, you know, that's really, it's an ideal. It's an ideal. But what happens is the more I am available and awake in that space, I fear less. I judge less. I resist less on my way to the absolute experience. So, yes.
Beautiful. Thank you. So we can develop a relationship or a practice through what you're suggesting, the pathway prayer. Is that?
Yes.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. The record itself is relational. Okay, this I've really learned this about it, and I've taught all kinds of people. It's so, and I know, we're at a real turning point in human evolution. We're up against all these old ideas that the spiritual realm is supposed to be fantastic and sensational. Well, the truth is, it's deceptively subtle. It's like, what the heck? Anyway, and so we have to be really clear to set aside our expectations and our old ideas, right? That no one's going to show us a big book with our name on a page. And I mean, that's really not what we're talking about here. But the practice, it's like any relationship, right? So the first date can be like, woo! And that's how it was for me. And I thought, oh, I'm going back. And anyway, that's another story. But when I first went into the records, I was blown away because I felt completely known, loved, accepted. I felt like I was a part of the whole of creation. That experience was antagonistic to everything I was raised to. And I thought, well, whatever this is, I'm going to see. I don't know what I thought. I thought I might have 3 weeks, I'd wring this thing out. And every time I think I'm done, there's a whole new vista. Anyway, so much for infinite spiritual resources, which is what it is. But here's the thing. We go into the record, it's like meeting a new friend, right? It's like we go to the shore of the ocean and we step in. Do we like the water? Is it good? How does it feel to be there? So we're looking for descriptions, not for edicts on high. And every time I go into the record, sometimes it's very productive and rich. I journal a lot in my records, right? Because, and then I don't look at it for a week. So I'll be asking if I'm in the business, if I really need quick answers, I call my astrologer. I don't go to the records. This is because the records are they invite me to explore my own truths, my part in things, my motivations. Why did I think it was such a good idea to, I don't know, smoke cigarettes, rob the bank? I mean, the opportunities for limiting behavior are endless. But we always do them because they're the best idea we have at the time. Anyway, that's enough. But the thing is, every time we go into the records, it's like any other relationship. You spend a little time there. You get to know each other. You find out, does this relationship feel good to me or not? No, there are no spirit guides in the records. And I'll tell you why. This is so interesting because, see, I thought there would be spirit guides. I thought there was this hierarchy of people in different outfits. And because I love outfits, I thought that's going to be great. Anyway, but what happens, see, spirit guides, same with angels too. There are no spirit guides or angels in the records. And the reason for that is spirit guides and angels all have individual identities. They have names. They have things, they have implements, they have outfits, they have well-identified rules and responsibilities. My observation is, whether it's with, and you know, angels are like this, spirit guides are like this. I know that they can escort many people to the record, but they can't stay. And they can't stay because it's not their part in this cosmic pattern, right? Because the beings of light who are working within the record have relinquished the need for personal attention, any kind of ego gratification, which is just mind-blowing to me, because it just is not that case. To have the experience of a collective, right? A collective wisdom, not one voice. But I have observed, this is the other thing I wanted to say. I know many people who work with like angels and spirit guides, and I've done it. I mean, you know, I had it myself. And what I observe after time is that in those relationships, the spirit guides and the angels become increasingly important, and the human being becomes less important. Working in the records, the human being, it is really a co-creative relationship that we have with this collective, right? It's a collective of infinite wisdom, insight, and guidance, right? And so, and our part in the equation is that we are the human element. We're the hands and feet of this thing, right? And that is different. It is markedly different than working with angels and spirit guides. Okay, and I understand. See, this is what I mean about the old ideas. There are many old ideas about the record that you know, they got us here. They're great. They just don't hold up in these times, right? These are very dramatic, changing times. So,
Linda, we're going to open it up in just a few minutes for questions. So I'm getting a sense that this is a deeply personal experience, a communion, if you will, with infinite wisdom that can provide guidance for one to tap into our soul's purpose. And you mentioned that to love ourselves no matter what. I would imagine that's all of our collective soul purpose.
Yes.
So could you give us an example, like a tangible example, maybe it's your own or a client that you've worked with, of how you've been able to guide them or support them in tuning in to their own purpose, so we can kind of have a mental equivalent of how that is for someone working with the Akashic records?
What do you want to know?
Could you give us an example? Maybe it's an example of your own tuning in to your purpose, or maybe a client, just a simple, short example of if someone was to work with you or to work with the Akashic
this is great. I got it. I hear you. Okay, great. So this is so great. So this woman comes for a reading. I do consultations. Anyway, it's one of the things. And she comes. Now, here's the thing. She is a CPA, right? She's very successful in my mind. I'm like, wow, right? I'm impressed. It's very easy for her, right? Very easy for her. And her question is, she has been to some psychic who told her whatever, that she was going to write a book on spirituality. Here's the problem. She doesn't want to write a book. Clue number one, she doesn't want to do it. Second of all, she doesn't know what she would say. Anyway, so in the course of this conversation, here's what I notice. So I've got her records open. So it's like the two of us are sitting in this space of light, right? And what we're looking for, I mean, we understand that underneath it all is the challenge, right? Of expanding the self-love, But because it's an individual, we're looking for the unique individual way in which it happens. Now, in the course of the conversation, I am being guided to ask her some questions. And in this, I learn she loves being an accountant. I find that very funny. Anyway, but she like loves it. And it's so clear to just raise the possibility that this is her soul's purpose, right? She's bringing order, and what a great service this is. I have to tell you, this is a very, she's an accountant, right? She's kind of a tough gal. She starts weeping because she has never thought of her work as a service, as a spiritual service, right? She's helping people bring order and all these kinds of things, which, these are incredible. So that's really how simple it can be, right? And also, there's a lot of popular New Age, I run into a lot of that, which is fine, right? A lot of like, your soul's purpose. Everyone I talk, they're supposed to be healers and they're going to write spiritual books. And then, I find out, they just want to bake cakes or go on a trip. I'm like, you go. Because see, the idea of the soul's purpose, right? Everyone has many purposes. None of us, anybody who's on the planet right now came with a very long to-do list. Who came with one thing to do? Please, there's a lot to do, right? And we've all elected to be here in these times of incredible change. So, and the soul's purposes, the individual soul's purposes are in precise alignment with what the world needs right now. That's why we're here, for heaven's sakes. We know this, right? So it's very interesting. It's a fascinating time. I think that like some of the questions, right? I've learned some turbocharged healing questions in the records, which I think are really fun. Things that will really propel us, because we know that what actually inspires growth are good questions. Answers are boring. They're helpful when you need them, but really, come on, right? But if we want to really grow, we've got to ask new questions. So one of the questions, especially in the midst of what's happening in the world right now, the question is, how do I love myself, even though the world is up for grabs right now? Not how do I, I'm not worried about loving, how can I know that the light in me is in these people? Doesn't look like it to me, but how can I know that? But how do I love and respect myself if I get sick? What if I get this COVID? Could happen. It's not a moral issue. It's an experience. How do I love myself if I'm sick? How do I love myself if I don't get it? How do I love myself if someone I love gets this? How do I love myself even though my neighbors are driving me crazy? Right? How do I love and respect myself when I do not meet my spiritual ideals? That for me is I'm working a lot with that question right now. And then see, the soul is spiritual, right? We're talking about we're talking about something spiritual there. The soul is spiritual. And so our soul's purposes are spiritual. Spiritual is all about love. So what can I do today, given who I am with what I have? What can I do today that unleashes the experience of the infinite love within me? And how can I express it today, right? Without hurting myself or anybody else. The age of, you guys know this, the age of martyrdom It had a very good run. And I loved every minute of those thousands of years, but they're over. So the question now is, how do I love and serve in a way that nurtures and sustains me? That's the new possibility. How the heck do we do that? And we are the bridge generation. You know, I have certainly my parents thought I was out of my mind. Okay. They were worried, they said prayers for the wayward daughter. And then my son, I have a 27-year-old son. I love this kid, young man, whatever he is, right? My baby, right? When he was a little boy, him and his friends were at the kitchen table. I'm making grilled cheese sandwiches, loving every minute because that's, part of my soul's purpose. Anyway. And he's like, why do you guys always have to talk about this stuff? Everybody knows God is within. Everybody knows the light is within. Why? What's the big deal? You act like it's news. And I'm like, it's news. Anyway, so we are this bridge generation. See, I know whatever year it is, it's 2020. I've been doing this for 26 years in this, right? I know in 20 years, people will not take courses on how to read the Akashic records. But I also know the value of good education. So many people that I encounter, and I work in some very interesting places where superstition abounds. And it's heartbreaking. It is just heartbreaking that the spiritual path is about the excursion into greater reality. It is about embracing life, not running away from it. And that to me is, I don't know about you guys, but I've spent a few centuries sitting on mountaintops and in caves and facing the east and enjoyed every minute of it. But in this lifetime, the spiritual journey is about living in the world the way it is and seeking and finding the light and love anyway. And that's really, so I don't know. What other questions? I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So you've given us so much to think about and so much to feel into in regards to this beautiful Akashic records. So who has questions for Dr. Linda? That would be great if you want to raise your hand. And
however you want to do it. Yeah.
Jerry, maybe you could unmute.
Hi. Thank you so much, Linda. Totally appreciate fascinating talk. I have a quick question for you. You mentioned that when you first went into the records, you felt loved, known, and accepted.
Yeah.
And the way you described it. What I heard, when you said that, what I was reminded of, folks who have these near-death experiences where they die and come back, they sort of describe that experience the same way, of feeling so known and so loved and so accepted. So I'm wondering, when we drop our physical body, do we go into the record? Is there some correlation there?
Well, do you know what? I don't know. I haven't been dead for a long time, but I just don't know. I'll tell you what I do understand. I don't know if this is helpful, is that, so if we understand the soul at the floor of the heart center, right? I kind of think of it as like a mylar, right? Kind of a, maybe a lake or a mirror, a mylar, right? Because it's reflective. Yeah. Okay. So from the soul to the source, this is just one angle on it, right? The source. So we want to think of the source as 18 inches above the crown of the head, right? Like that's okay, energetically. So there is this dimension from soul to source, and the Akashic record can be understood as the energetic connective tissue from the soul to the source. Okay, so as we are awakening, this body of energy, right, this realm of light holds us steady as we awaken to greater truths about who we are. As we change state, I don't know. It's not a place necessarily like to go, although, I mean, there are realms within the record that we encounter. There's like a zone of choice, there's a zone of freedom. It's really, you know, my house has many mansions, right? It's like that. But but this holds us, you know, when we're changing state, I mean, if you think about it, right? So if I'm going to change like from ice, I mean, let's say my goal is steam, right? So first ice, I'm like, you know, to actually break away from the pack, right? Takes tremendous, the heat of life, right? Okay, great. Now we're water, okay? We're in the pot, the water, we're bubbling, right? We've got the flame on, and now the goal is to become steam, right? There is so much crashing around of these molecules, banging against the pan, trying to like find their freedom, just like us, right? And what holds it together is this Akashic field, holds us in place as we make these, as it's part of, as we are ascending, right? And ascension is, you know, ascension is a very natural process, right? It's an inevitable consequence. It's the destiny of all, right? But it is an inevitable consequence of recognizing and behaving in accordance with our greatest truths, right? And as we do that, then we start to ascend.
Thank you.
Does that answer your question? But do you know what I want to tell you? And this is interesting, Reverend Trish, is that, do you know, I had my first, when I was like 24, I really was raised with, you know, I thought life was a management game. I thought if I manage well, they're going to give me a prize. And I wasn't sure what the prize was going to be, but I knew I was going to get it. Anyway, so I wake up at 24. I have everything I think I want. Got a beautiful apartment. I have a great job that I hate, by the way, but you're right. Anyway, you know the story. But the truth is I had great things. I had wonderful friends. I had a lot of things. Oh, I was heartbroken, right? I was grief stricken. I thought, how could my life look so good? And I feel so terrible. And so I prayed the desperate prayer to a force I didn't even believe in at that point, right? I thought, oh, there is nothing out there. I am alone. Anyway, so I make the prayer. Within a couple of weeks, I have this moment, totally interrupted, an epic self-pity attack. And I have this moment where I am completely consumed with that experience of being known, loved, appreciated. And it wasn't just Linda in her room, it was me a part of the whole. I didn't know what it was. I still don't know what it was. But what I knew was that whatever this is, I must have it in my life. And so that's what launched me on the path. I was 24. I came into the records when I was 40. I'll tell you, if somebody had told me it was going to take me 16 years to find this, I would have said, forget it. I'm not doing it. But it's awesome. Turned out great. At time, you know, we're infinite beings. But anyway, thank you for your wonderful question.
Thank you.
Okay, we've got time for one more. Who has a question? Okay. And if your questions don't get asked, maybe we could you could put it in the chat and we could send these questions on to Linda.
Yes, that's what, yes, I would be happy to. Listen, if you have questions, oh God, oh, Reverend Mary Beth. If you have questions, yeah, you can, get them together, send them over. I'll answer them. I'd be happy to. Sure.
Okay, so one more question. Anyone?
One more, please. Come on. Oh, please, Reverend Dr. Charles, yes.
First of all, grace upon you, grace within you. You are grace. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
And my sense of the Akashic records, that it's the field of infinite knowledge, that it's the originating cause of everything, the unconditional love, the pure intelligence, the pure life force that originated and was the beginning. In the beginning was the Word, and there was nothing that came to be without it.
Yeah,
And that I have never sought to channel individual entities or angelics, but I do believe that sometimes I'm receiving and I never want to know who. It's like whatever's coming through, I will just cease and desist. And it's always a they. Oh my God, they want to say this.
Yeah.
And that's what then it's like flows through. But it's never been about an identity of anyone. It's been that. So does that kind of.
Yes. And do you know what? You bring up such a great point, because people who are attracted to the record. Okay, so everyone is a soul. We'll start there. Everyone's is a soul, and everyone is already connected to the record. The issue is the awareness, right? That's where our work is. Now, like you, many people have had those encounters. You know, when I teach a class, so many people are like, oh, I've been here before. The difference is the responsibility and being able to do it of our own volition. Yeah. Because I know when I came into the record, I was like, oh, I had that same experience, right? In some ways, I was like, oh yeah, I've been here before. There's a familiarity, and there should be a familiarity because it's your own soul, for heaven's sakes. Yes, right? So of course it's familiar. What's distinct at this point in time? Prior to the 1990s, our work in the records was random, right? It was like, maybe we'll get there. You know, maybe if I do yoga, drink a green drink, stand on my head, you know, apologize to my sister, maybe I'll get into the records, but maybe I won't. See, working with the pathway prayer is very specific, conscious, responsible, deliberate. So when I say the prayer, I move into the realm, and when I'm done, I move out. So I can engage it just because I want to, which is so yes, but it's exactly as you say. It's like there's a they. It's like, well, wait a minute, you know, but it's very exciting. And it's to understand it as part of this new possibility for human beings, right?
That's wonderful.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Charles, for your question. Linda, would you like to close in a little prayer?
Oh, sure. Do you know, first of all, thank you so much. It is just, you know, I mean, fun. Oh, just thank you. I've just so enjoyed being with all of you, and I love your questions. And again, if you do have questions, just, you know, you'll coordinate them, get them to me. I am happy to, you know, I live for questions. Questions drive my life, which is good. But anyway, thank you very much. Anyway, so let's just close our eyes for a moment and open our awareness. We recognize the truth that the light is emanating from each and every one of us, pouring forth to the north, to the south, to the east, to the west. The light radiating from each and every person, beyond them, into their world, their community. And around the globe, following the magnificent curves and nooks and crannies of the planet, reaching all the way around. And as the light makes its journey through us and beyond, we encounter one another, others aware of themselves as points of light within a greater light. And in those moments of recognition, there is a quickening. And then comes the moment in the journey of the light when it rounds the curve and begins to make its way back to us. By its magnetic nature, the light is drawn back to us, bringing to each and every person everything we could possibly need to bring our soul's purposes to life. And so we stand, points of light, equally radiant and magnetic. And from this place, we go forth to do our work, to know the truth, and to enjoy. And so it is.
And so it is. So precious, so precious. Thank you.
Thank you.